Discussing the hadith, حُفَّتِ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ وَحُفَّتِ النَّارُ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ, that Jannah is surrounded by many forms of difficulties, whereas Jahannam is surrounded by shahawat and attractions. And the moment someone realizes that the path to Jannah is not that easy, it's actually much more complicated and difficult, then right away they'll be able to start making changes in their lives. Because when left to our own devices, our mashayikh would tell us that it's you versus two enemies. It's you versus two enemies. One enemy is shaitan and the other enemy is the nafs. Shaitan and the nafs work together to make your journey to Jannah that much more difficult and your journey to Jahannam that much more easy. In fact, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they're a very interesting example of people who have done so much. They're such a beautiful example of sacrifice, hijrah, nusrah, everything you can think of, striving in the path of Allah. Yet, in their final moments, they were always concerned, did I do this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? حُفَّتِ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ. The path to Jannah is very difficult because it involves so many different sacrifices we have to make. If you take the average person, a non-Muslim, and you take the average Muslim, and you look at the challenges that they have. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ, right? You have to wake up at certain times, you have to sacrifice some of your money, you have to make sure you go for Hajj, you have to be respectful, you have to seek forgiveness. Being a Muslim has a lot of challenges. But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. That you make sacrifice for a small amount of time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you something in the akhirah that is that much greater. So, just to summarize this hadith, حُفَّتِ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ وَحُفَّتِ النَّارُ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ, it reminds us that all the sacrifices that we're making in this life, they're not going in vain. Ultimately, Allah will reward us for those sacrifices. But on the other hand, the temptations of this life, they say a few seconds of pleasure and a lifetime of guilt. When was the last time anyone committed a sin? And that urge that you feel, whether to buy something, say something, see something, listen to something, that urge that you satisfy for a few seconds, no one ever feels good about it later on. I mean, you get into an argument with someone and you say that, I have to say what's on my mind. Afterwards, you never feel good about it. You want to see something, initially you have this temptation, this drive, this push that makes you do things. But then by the end of it, you feel disgusted, you feel empty, you feel as though it was never worth it in the end. Now imagine your entire life compared to the akhirah is like that one moment. I'm going to think back and say, all of the compromises I made for my deen, was it worth it? Was it worth me sleeping in and missing my salah? Was it worth me hiding my money and not giving zakah? Was it worth me not spending the money for Hajj? Was it worth me getting into arguments and never seeking forgiveness? All for what? An eternity of Jahannam for a few moments of happiness and bliss? And that's why the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. You make the sacrifice in this life and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for us in the akhirah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to stay away from the shahawat that will lead us to Jahannam, and may He allow us to overcome the makarih that will eventually lead us to Jannah.